Hey everybody, Jay Washington here, and I wanted to welcome you all to my first installment of a new podcast I wanted to do called A Dad Apart. This podcast is basically dedicated to all of the fathers who are separated from their children. Now, this may not be by choice, or it may be by choice. It may be due to living arrangements. It may be due to chasing dreams and goals. I myself am a father of two. I have a son and a daughter. My son's a teenager. My daughter's a toddler, going on child, I think, with her age. But nonetheless, they are both a distance away from me. My son, who will be going into high school, is in Indianapolis, Indiana. My daughter, who is about to head into kindergarten, is in Tacoma, Washington. And I myself currently live in Los Angeles. Now, I know a lot of people are wondering, Jay, how did that happen? Did you really just go spreading your seed? No, that's not the case. My son is by my ex-wife. Her and I were together. We met in Chicago. We had our child in 2003, and we divorced in 2007. And after the divorce, before the divorce, when we separated, she moved to Indianapolis, and I was still in Chicago at the time. Fast forward some odd years later, I met my daughter's mother in Chicago as well. And at the time, we didn't think that children were in the picture or in the mix with that. She was comfortable. She loved my son, and I was grateful for that. My son loved her. And one day, after picking my son up to have him for Christmas, basically we conceived a child and found out the next month. And that was a beautiful blessing that we still have to this day. Now, fast forward then to May of 2015. I had booked some things, and we both had discussed prior that I was going to make the trek to Los Angeles to make the advancements within my career and make everything better for my family. My family being my daughter's mom, my daughter, and my son. Her and I agreed that, Los Angeles would be the best, and she would go home to reestablish herself as well in Tacoma. And honestly, dropping them off at the airport that morning was the hardest thing I'd ever had to do. I'd helped her take boxes to locations, to a Greyhound spot to have them delivered to Washington. But watching them leave out the car to head to the airport to go across country, even though I was going to end up on the West Coast, was still the hardest thing possible. I cried a million tears. And I held a million back that morning because I knew when I woke up that morning it was saying goodbye. And I honestly did not know for how long. I did not know if I would financially be there as soon as possible. I knew I was going to make a way. I was going to find it. I was going to bust my behind to make it happen. And, I just knew I was going to make it happen. And I knew also I had to come back across country to be with my son because I have two children. I have to treat them with equal love and equal respect as a father. I don't want to put one above the other. And here is where I stand right now, which is why I'm coming to you. It is hard. It is very difficult as a father to be away from your child, let alone two children. It is difficult to chase your goals and dreams every day when you know that you're close to achieving them. They aren't, unobtainable. They aren't that far from reach. To know that what you're chasing can make things better. Now, there are issues that arise more frequently than you would thought it would at first. The feeling of neglecting your children. I have that feeling a lot. I deal with that daily. I deal with that when I go to Washington to see my daughter and I haven't seen my son. And I even deal with that when I go to Indianapolis. When I went to Indianapolis to see my son. It is hard, and financially it is a stretch no matter where to be with both. Now, I know a lot of people thinking, well, why did you move? Why go to Los Angeles? Wouldn't have been better if you stayed in Chicago? Honestly, no. It still would have been a stretch because even if I was in Chicago, I'd still have to go down to Indianapolis, which is only a 3-hour trek. I get it. You can take a bus down there, this, that, and the third. But I still would have to fly across country to get to my daughter in Tacoma. And that is hard. Another thing I hate is missing out on a lot of key developmental and things they reach as they grow up in life. My son going into high school as a father who lost his father when he was 5. My dad passed away from a diabetic heart attack when I was 4.5 going on 5, a month before my younger brother was born. And I knew that it was no fault of his own somewhat, but, well, granted, bad health decisions, but I knew as an overall, he didn't try to, pass away. He didn't try to leave. And I didn't hold that against him, and I still don't to this day. But I wanted to be able to be there for my children past their childhood into their teenage years and their adult years, and even if they decide to start families or whatever the case may be. And so it is extremely difficult. My son is currently heading into high school as I record this. He is leaving the 8th grade, getting ready to matriculate on. And his school is not doing a graduation ceremony per se. They're doing just a regular ceremony where they're passing out awards and different things. And here was the problem. We had been waiting, myself, his mother, and him, to find out the date of this ceremony so that arrangements could be made so that I can come out there and to celebrate with them, because that is a key time and a key point in my son's life. And as a father, I want to be there. I want to do the best that I can to be there. There isn't a gig that would be more important. There isn't anything that could stop that except the will of God. And we find out at the almost end of April, this past April, and find out the date, and the date is May 31st. Now, I bring that up because that is just almost a little over 30 days, but under 45, which means for those who fly frequently and you pay for your tickets, you know that the rate to try to fly at that point is ridiculous. Tickets are astronomically high. And also, for me flying from Los Angeles to Indianapolis, there are no direct flights. Every flight I saw was a flight that had a connector flight, which means I would have had to leave a day early, which would have been a problem, to get in that day, that Thursday, the 31st, to see a ceremony, and then leave back out that evening to come back to Los Angeles. Wouldn't sound like a problem. Also, there's the issue of, where do I stay overnight? Can I stay at my son's mother's house? Probably not. Her and I, I try to be cordial. We don't have the best of relationships. And I wouldn't even feel comfortable asking her about, spending the night, just to be there in the morning, blah, blah, blah. Because I discussed it prior before. So just in case anybody's wondering, well, why wouldn't you take that chance with your son? We discussed it prior before, and it was a no-go on that. So I kind of knew the same situation would apply because I know the person, and I'd been looking and searching, and I know many people say, well, do you have friends who work for the airlines and who could give you a ticket, maybe this, that, and the third? I'm like, yes, but the problem is I used that already to go to Chicago, which I later went down to Indianapolis to see him. And the person who gives me those uses them themselves. And so I don't want to seem like the person who is just bugging them for that and overutilizing them for that and just stressing them out for that. So the hardest thing I've had to do this past weekend was call my 14-year-old son on the phone and tell him the entire situation, not lying to him, because I talked to a couple of friends. They said, just be honest with him, and that's the best thing you can do. And so I found myself on the phone with my 14-year-old in tears telling him, Dad is trying his best to get out there, but due to the circumstances of time, financial commitment, and obligation, because even if the ticket is for the 30th and the 31st, right behind that is the 1st of the month and rent is due, and I need to have a place to stay. And so I was in tears, practically begging my son for forgiveness if I cannot make it, practically begging for his understanding, and begging for, as many would just say, a child to know that his father is not trying to dismiss him. His father is not trying to act as if he's not as important. His father is not trying to act like what is happening in his life is not a serious event in his father's life as well. And as I sat on that phone in tears, begging and pleading with my son, I mean, nonstop, just asking for forgiveness, just asking to understand, just asking to, find a way to make it right with him. The whole time he kept telling me, Dad, I understand. I understand how finances go. Dad, I understand about money. I understand that they told us late. I wish they would have told us earlier. And I was joyous for a second. I was excited because I felt like there was a little bit of a bit of brevity, a bit of breakthrough. But at the same time, I couldn't just rejoice in that he understood. I couldn't just rejoice in that he was understanding and he was, respectful to it per se. I couldn't just rejoice in that because in my heart, in my soul, I am still broken to this day, even as I speak to you all right now, as a man who was not able to be there for his son for one of the greatest days in his life. Now, some kids don't see, even though it's not a graduation ceremony. So some people are like, it's just a ceremony. They're giving out pieces of paper. What does it matter? It matters to me because I'm a father and I'm apart from my children and I want to be there. It matters to me because I want to do things that my father was unable to do. It matters to me because I always want to be that cemented impression within my children's lives that their father loves them, their father is there, their father will go above and beyond. And that was the thing I was trying to convey because it still hurt me. It still hurt me. And now I find myself trying to figure out, hey, how do I go to be there with him? How do I celebrate somehow? And in our conversation, he said, I'm thinking about trying to come out there with you for a week or two for the summer, which is amazing because my son is terrified to fly, something I joke with him about all the time. And for him to say he wants to come out here, he's willing to fly if his mom gets him a ticket. I'm like, dude, let me know. We'll set things up. I'll budget everything as need be. I would love to have you here with me. And that meant the world to hear that. Now, whether that comes to fruition is yet to be seen, but that lit my heart up. Now, fast forward to the other side of the country. My daughter's mom and I were in a serious relationship. We were engaged, and I did some things that were stupid. Plain and simple, they were stupid, which caused a very big rift in our relationship, and even in the trust. And I won't get into the full level of details, but there is a strain trying to raise a child by yourself. I've seen that. I hear it. And it breaks my heart. I try to talk to my daughter every day via FaceTime to keep the connection, the bond with her. I try to talk to her mom to get any understanding of anything that happens that I might have missed, things that I need to know, things that are important. Now, a bigger issue is the fact that we have recently discovered that our daughter is on the spectrum of autism. My daughter is on the high functioning spectrum. She's on the very high end of it. But she also has a sensory processing disorder, which, make things a little bit difficult. Certain sounds and lights and colors, sometimes things can be overwhelming for her, even at 4, going on 5. Some things can, cause her to go into a tiff. She can have bursts of energy that last way longer than anyone ever expected. And so those things literally break my heart because as a dad, I want to be there as much as I can to understand the process of what my daughter is going through as a child, to understand what her mother is going through, trying to raise her, being that advocate, being that voice for our child when our child can't be that voice for herself, being that person who has to take in all this knowledge and information, has to make all these appointments for herself and deal with her own life as well as our daughter. And that tears me apart. I am a dad who is split in threes. I am a father who is split in threes. I am a father who heart breaks every time I see something on television, hear something on the radio about your children together and see families, and it hurts. And as much as I hurt, though, as much as I'm in pain, as much as it bothers me about this, I push through. As much as it bothers, I was just in Tacoma, Washington for a week with my daughter to go see her, and I made the arrangements with her mom and everything. We were there, and my daughter, she smiled when her and her mom picked me up from the bus stop, and she was so elated to see her dad. She couldn't stop cheesing, and that smile brought the biggest smile to my face. And for that week, we did things such as play Mario Kart together on the Wii, which she beat my behind in. We played with toys. We watched SpongeBob on repeat. We did so much together. We went to the waterfront. She ran. I ran with her. She wanted to be on the swing, and she wanted me to push her, and I did, like a dad. And all of those things made both of us smile. One of the greatest things for me in that trip, because she wasn't in school my last trip, her mother and I went to pick her up from school, and she gets out about noon. And so when the both of us walked up to her classroom, she's so just elated and exploded with emotion and went, "It's my mommy and my daddy." And she was beyond excited, and I was enthralled about the excitement I saw. I was so happy. Her mother was so happy. And then as we walked down the hall with her, she made sure to grab my hand with her one hand and her mother's hand with the other. And for her to have her parents together, for her, was just the greatest thing ever in person. Because there is a difference from talking to her on FaceTime through a telephone every day. There is a big difference from being there visually than being there physically. And to have us together with her physically was something that she was so excited for. And I couldn't blame her at all, because for me, it was a completion. Well, for that side, it wasn't even completion. I was still 3/4 of the way complete, because I'm not complete until I have my son there with them as well. And I've had those moments before we left and moved. They went to Washington. My daughter, her mom went to Washington, and my son was already in Indianapolis. I would bring my son up to make sure, first and foremost, my kids had a relationship together. You all are siblings. I understand people go have siblings, this, that, and the third, but you all are both my children, and I want you all to be there for each other, especially my son to be the protector of his younger sister whenever he can. I want my daughter to know that her big brother can be there when she needs him. He can help her out with certain problems. I just want that unity amongst my children. And I even want the same for both of their mothers. I want their mothers to be able to be respectful, be cordial to one another, to each other's children, to understand that no matter what, we are all connected and we all are a family of sorts. And that has been something else to work on. But here I am now with being in Los Angeles, sitting by myself, recording this for the first time. I'm hoping to have many other editions of that. Recording this and basically trying to shed light on it, how much it tears a father apart. There are many fathers I know who do not want to be in their children's lives, who do not make any effort, who do not seemingly care. And for you all, I wish nothing but the worst. You don't deserve that, and that child never asked for this. To be a father is a blessing. To be one of the instillers of values and morals and morale growing up for a child is a great thing. To be an impressionable figure and image in a child's life is such an important thing. And to relinquish that, to maybe put that on the sole responsibility of the mother, to allow another man to take that place who may willingly want to and want to be that because you don't step up, and that is a fine thing. But to not want to be that father in which you were man enough to lay down and conceive, you cannot be the father. That is an old saying, and it still holds true to this day. I don't understand. I don't. I couldn't go a day and ever deny my children. No matter how upset I may get, no matter how frustrated things may be, or I might get with the parents or whatever the case, I would never ever be able to bring myself to saying, well, I'm not going to take care of this child, and I'm not going to do this, and I'm not going to do that. No, I can't. I just can't. That's not me. That's not within me. That's not this innate feeling. I know the bond I've had with both of them, watching them be born, holding them for the first time, connecting with them for the first time. And that has kept me to being that person that needs to be there, for being that person that has to show the love and adoration and the respect that they deserve as my children. I know it seems like a lot. I know it seems like a lot of things are just a simple solution, but in many cases they aren't. There are many fathers I know of who want solid and stable relationships with their children, and things may not work out that way. There may be issues of, non-compromise with the mother. There may be issues of a financial situation. There may be issues of a housing reason. And just there's other things that may keep them from that, than them not wanting to be within their child's lives. And so my goal, my focus with this is to help open that world of understanding, is to help people see it from another side. I will never, first and foremost, I will never, ever, ever discredit what mothers do for children. From incubating and growing the life within inside of them, to birthing that life, to being the primary figure. Because yes, children spend more time with their mothers, even if the father is directly there. There is something about the fathers, the mother who will provide, who will nurture, who will comfort. There's something about that a father can never seem to do on that same level. We can do it, but it's never the same as the mother. So I by no means ever want for anyone to discredit that. I don't want to do that. But what I'm saying is, I want people to understand that fathers hurt, fathers suffer, fathers break being apart from their children. I know when it comes to goals and ascertaining them, and it comes to dreams and realizing them, and it comes to making things come to fruition, a lot of people will say, well, you have to forego that and just do what you need to do right now. You need to make things happen right now. And yes, that is very true. A child won't wait until your dreams have come true. A child won't wait until your goals have been realized. A child won't stop growing up, won't stop needing things, won't stop wanting things until everything you've set forth as a father happens and comes true. This is absolutely true, but there is nothing in the handbook that says you cannot take care of your children while you are doing that. You cannot provide for your children while you are doing that. There's nothing that says you can't be a father while being a man who's chasing something to be a better father in the long run. There's nothing that ever says that. You can be that. And that's what I want to, shed light on here. I want to have various fathers who are separated from their children, and who see their children sporadically and get their perspectives on how they feel. I want to be able to talk to professionals who deal with this in clinical psychology, family psychology, and more, to understand the dichotomy and how it works on the mental effects and the emotional effects of people, the children even. I want to talk to mothers who don't have the fathers in their lives, or do have the fathers in their lives, and how is that relationship different, and or better yet, how does it impact the parenting? How does it impact the growing, the maturation of the child as they get older? I want to be able to cover all of the spotlight from this, and even tell you my stories, tell you my come ups as well as my flaws as a father, because no one is perfect. I would be a bold-faced lie if I sat there and told you all that, I'm a great father all the time, and every single thing my kids need and my kids want, and every time they want to see me, I'm there. I just told you earlier, one of the hardest things in my life to do is to tell my child I may not be there for an 8th grade graduation, a ceremony, and for him to say, oh, Dad, it's only a ceremony, it's no big deal, I understand. That still hurts me as a father. I try to spotlight myself as well as others, because I don't want this to ever seem like it's coming from one perspective. I want the vast array of perspectives, the vast array of knowledge that is available about this. How fathers also who are apart can do better. I want to be able to showcase that. How we can be better as fathers, how we can be better as men, how we can live up to the title, not just daddy, but father. Because there is a difference. There is a big difference. I love when my daughter says, "Daddy, I love you, Daddy." Just wants to hug me and wants to kiss on me. I love those things. Those things make me feel all warm and bubbly inside. But I also know as a father, I have to provide. I have to protect. I have to instill knowledge. I have to teach. There are so many things in which I have to do to play my part in this child's life, because 50% of this child is me. Whether it is in emotions, whether it is in physical features, whether it is in certain things they may do, whether it is, just the things they may do, things they may pick up, and habits they may have. 50% of that is me. And it's every father. It's every dad. And we need to hold up to that 50%. We can't make it more, because unfortunately, we're not there. And plus, you want the best of both worlds. You always want your child to have the best of you and the best of the mother. Granted, every child will pick up one or two bad habits from each parent. It never fails. Never fails. It'll never be an instance where you're like, "I have the perfect child." Because in the dark, some things they do, you'd be like, "Well, where did you get that?" Then you have to reflect back to your childhood and say, "Oh, damn, I used to do that." Or the mother says, "Oh, damn, I used to do that." So, that helps in the development of the rounded child. I just want this to be a platform. That is my intentions. I want this to be a platform. I want this to be a vehicle to speak to many. There are many fathers who were married, now separated, and the child is a little older, and the child knows, and it has an effect on them. I want to talk to those type of dads, even those moms, to understand what does that moment, the separation, with the child having knowledge of it now, understanding of what's going on, how does that affect them? How does it change the behavior they had prior to the behavior they may have now? How does daddy living in the home and now daddy having his own home change? How does daddy having another relationship or mommy having another relationship, how does that affect the child? Those are things that I want to explore on this podcast. Those are things I want to reach out to the world about, because there are fathers from all communities, all walks of life that go through similar situations. And granted, we may not all speak the same language. We may not all, express the same customs and exhibit the same, cultural things that we have. We may not always do the same and look the same, but as a whole, many dads go through the same. Many fathers go through that loss of being there with their child for one reason or another. And I myself also want to talk about how I'll go into detail later, and I will talk about how being someone who grew up without his father, as I mentioned earlier, I'll talk about being about someone who grew up without his father, how that has impacted his life, and those who stepped in, and those who have helped to formulate and shape me, and those who are already there. I want to talk about all of this, and I want you all to be a part of this. I want you all to be able to be interactive with the conversation. I want you all to feel engaged with the conversation. I want you all to feel enlightened by the conversation. And I want you to know, if you are a father who is separated from your children, there's a platform for you to discuss it. If you are a mother who is raising her child alone with no father, there's a platform here for you to discuss it. I just want you to know, I want to be that platform. I want to be that bridge. I want to be someone who can help others and also help myself. to make me understand more what I am doing, what I'm not doing, what I could do better, what I am doing great. That is all. So I hope you enjoyed this first edition of A Dad Apart. I'm hoping to have many more episodes come soon, and I want for many people to be able to listen to this. Hopefully it touches some of you, it opens some eyes, and it opens minds as well as open hearts. As always, you can find me on social media if you want to talk to me privately or personally. I'm found at twitter.com/MrMRJ, J-A-Y, Washington, and Mr. J Washington is the same thing on Instagram. Please feel free to direct message me if you don't want to publicly talk about it. If you want to have your story told on a future episode, I will definitely do that as well. You can also email me at jay@jwashington.com. If you want your stories to be kept confidential, they definitely will. If you want to vocally speak on it, I will give you credit. If you can come on the podcast, I will give you credit as well. That is pretty much all I wanted to talk to you guys about today. Hope you guys enjoyed this inaugural episode, and I will talk to you again in 1 week. Take care. God bless you.